Good morning. It's Thursday, June 20th. Thanks for joining us on Up to the Minute. I'm Dr. Nicholas Cox, the Department Chair of the HCC History Department, and I'm here today with my co-host Linda Davis, HCC Northeast College Operations Office Manager. Good morning, Linda. How are you today?
Good morning, Nick. I'm awesome. How are you?
I'm great. Did you enjoy that day off yesterday?
Oh, my Juneteenth day off was phenomenal. I did nothing, and I
I
love when I can do nothing
I,
because I'm always
I
doing something.
absolutely. I really like this idea of work 2 days, take a day off, work 2 days, have a holiday, have a weekend, whatever. Well,
Yeah, I vote for that. I vote for that.
Ms. Davis, if you could please tell us about how our audience can find us if they're not live with us right now.
They can join us live on Houston Community College's district Facebook page, not HCC, and YouTube. We're also on X, LinkedIn, and on HCC TV, of course, at noon, 5, and 10, Monday through Friday.
All right. Well, excellent. It is Thursday Family Fun Day and World Camel Day is coming up. So we have a guest to talk about the Texas Camel Corps and the history they share with a famous Texas landmark. Emily Baucum, welcome to the show.
Thank you. I'm so excited to represent the Alamo, the Shrine of Texas Liberty, and talk about World Camel Day at the Alamo this weekend.
Well, wonderful, wonderful. We're going to come back to you after the break. Our first guest, Linda, will spotlight a winner of HCC's business plan competition, David Lee. Linda, go ahead. Take it away.
Welcome to the show, David.
Thank you, Linda. I'm so happy to be here today.
And congratulations on your big win. I know it also came with some big cash. We'll get into that in a bit, but let's begin with a description of your business, True Reflections Media.
Absolutely. So True Reflections Media is a dynamic video production and social media management company that specializes in crafting compelling content for businesses and entrepreneurs, allowing them to authentically connect with their target audience, gain organic followers, and increase market visibility.
Wow, that is an awesome business. Tell us a little bit about your background and how you got into entrepreneurship.
Absolutely. So I actually was a special education public school teacher for 10 years and transitioned from education in 2020 and became a real estate agent. During that time of buying and selling, I was able to also craft 3D virtual tours online for people to view. And that really piqued my interest into learning about photography, videography, and flying drones. And from a need that I saw in the marketplace, I started True Reflections Media first as a real estate media service.
Wow. I tell you, going from special ed to corporate teaching, hats off to you. Now, I hear you were granted not one, not two, but three of our signature programs. You graduated from three of our signature programs. Tell us about your journey and what brought you here today.
Absolutely. So I first started in the fall of 2023 with the Mattress Max School of Selling. And during that time, it really helped me to know that I wanted to expand True Reflections Media beyond real estate. And that course really helped me to learn that people really connect with people and not just a product or a service. So I had to learn how to utilize my experiences up to that point to really gain an understanding of who I am and how I show up in the marketplace. From there, I went to the Small Business Success Series, and that really added more tools to the toolkit of learning how to really craft out the vision and the business plan so that by the time the business plan competition rolled around, I felt competent and prepared through all the tools that I gained at that time to really be successful in the business plan competition.
Wow, that's an amazing journey. You obviously did well in the competition, so describe your competition experience and how it helped you develop your own plan.
So the competition was wonderful, and the courses that I took before really prepared me. One of the things that I really took advantage of is the networking opportunities that come from the classes and the coursework. And through the networking and through the trainers and through the things that were taught I really was able to put everything together and understand how I was going to show up and how I was going to execute on helping businesses and entrepreneurs really grow their brands.
Now, networking and making the most of those relationships, we all know is key to success in so many ways. Give us some examples of how networking propelled you forward at HCC.
Absolutely. So during my coursework, I actually was able to be myself and gain friendships. And one of the friendships that I connected with was actually turns out to be the winner of last year's Houston HCC Business Plan Competition. And just being able to partner with that individual, work in their business, and highlight how I actually can serve businesses and entrepreneurs actually became a perfect partnership that propelled me through the competition and really gave me keys for success.
That is awesome. Awesome story about building networking and relationships. Now, on to the juicy part. 12 grand? $12,000 in prize money and all those in-kind prizes should seed your growth. So tell us how you plan to use it.
Absolutely. Well, I'm so blessed to have the opportunity to utilize these funds to really grow the business. The first thing is to really expand our social media presence. So we're recrafting our website that shows the updated expansion beyond just real estate to how we show up in the marketplace today. Next, we would utilize it for staffing to help grow the brand through the right people, and then investing in the software that it takes to manage these projects that will begin to flow.
Awesome. So tell me, what's next? Give me a little inside secret on what's going on with True Reflections Media. What's next for your company?
Growth is what's on the horizon for True Reflections Media. As mentioned before, we are offering services for small businesses, understanding that video production can come at quite a hefty price. So we've priced it to where we can help support individual projects for one-time fees, but then also help create stories that have a lasting impact on a consistent basis. And so with that, we've planted seeds prior to, and through training and dedication and consistency, we've watered that, and now we're ready to sprout and grow and help as many people as we can.
Okay, so this is just hypothetical, but say I want to become an entrepreneur. What would you give me as advice starting out?
So as a former educator, right, I wholeheartedly believe in personal development and really investing in yourself. So that does not just mean monetarily, but it means networking, it means training, it means showing up. So when I first started, I knew I didn't know everything for entrepreneurship, right? But what I did know was that I had to show up, I had to find the resources that are available for free and then go from there. And so that's what led me to HCC. And that's how the success has followed. It's just by continuing to show up and always investing in yourself.
Well, I can appreciate that. I have a young son and he thinks he wants to go into entrepreneurship because he has a talent or a trade. But, I want him to understand the business side of what he can do with his talent and trade. And all of our young people out there, you heard what he said? That's what led him to where? HCC. So we would love to have you come and follow in Mr. Lee's footsteps. In the meantime, we're going to get ready for a quick break. After the next upcoming break, we will have Nick, and he will return to discuss the Alamo and its upcoming events to celebrate World Camel Day. We want to thank you, David Lee, owner and CEO of True Reflection Media, and our first place winner of the HCC Business Plan Competition. We'll have your information in the post after the show. Thank you again for being so kind and coming on.
Thank you, Linda.
All right. All righty, guys. We'll be right back. Don't go anywhere. Hold on. We're coming back.
When I grow up, I want to work in a lab to build robots.
From classroom to career, we're with you every step. Register for real-world education at hccs.edu.
That one day at PE when they were like yelling at me, and then you just linked arms with me. I don't think you know how much like that helped me. I finally like knew that I had somebody.
And we're back with Emily Baucum, the Public Relations Manager of Alamo Trust Incorporated, and our Thursday Family Fun Day guest. Welcome back to the show, Emily.
Thank you for having me. It's a delight to be here.
So let me start by asking you, what is World Camel Day?
Let's set the stage for World Camel Day. It was an experiment in the 1850s by the U.S. Army. So what do camels and the U.S. Army have to do with the Alamo? Well, in 1845, when Texas becomes a state, the U.S. Army moves to the Alamo and uses it as a quartermaster depot, so a warehouse. For example, you can kind of see in the photo behind me, the arch, the famous arch people know all around the world. That was actually added by the U.S. Army because they needed more room for a warehouse. Also happening at this time, America is expanding west all the way to the Pacific Ocean, and they need to be able to move supplies from Texas across the desert to California. Horses and mules were typically what were used. They were not quite up for the job. It's very difficult terrain. They need a lot of water. They can't carry a lot of weight. So in the mid-1850s, a man named Jefferson Davis, who is remembered by history, he was remembered by history best for being president of the Confederacy during the Civil War. But in the 1850s, he's with the Union and he is Secretary of War. And he had this idea, why don't we bring in camels and have them traverse the American West? They don't need a lot of water. They can carry a ton of supplies. The first couple of times he brought this up, he was actually laughed at. But by about 1855, people decide, okay, let's try it. So the Army brought in camels, including for use here at the Alamo.
Now, it's a fascinating story. People that sort of study Texas history and American Western expansion might have heard about this sort of as a small sideshow or anecdote. But I always like to emphasize to my students that when the U.S. Army procured these camels from Tunisia and Egypt, that they brought with them a half dozen animal handlers from North Africa, from the Arab world, including a Syrian Greek man named Haji Ali. And these Arab and Greek animal handlers often were some of the very first Middle Eastern Muslim people living in Texas. It's a really important part of our early diversity in the state in the 1850s. But do I understand that Saturday, June 22nd is World Camel Day? You guys will have some events at the Alamo?
Yes, it is. There is a group in Texas called the Texas Camel Corps that is devoted to traveling the country, sharing the story of camels, how they came over from the Middle East, talking about the military records that really go into detail about how the camels were used, the trails that they were taken across. The camels that would have roamed and worked at the Alamo were actually stationed at Camp Verde, which was in the Texas Hill Country near Kerrville. So really not that far from the Alamo. So Texas Camel Corps, a guy named Doug Baum, who runs it, they're going to come to the Alamo this Saturday, June 22nd. They're going to be here starting at 8:30. They're going to have the camels in front of the iconic Alamo Church. It's going to be a great time for people to take photos. But then from 9 o'clock until noon, we'll actually have them behind the Alamo Church in the Alamo Gardens. So people can talk to Doug and his handlers, they can pet the camels and learn this piece of history. So we're really excited about it. We've had the Texas Camel Corps out to the Alamo a couple of times. It is always a huge hit with families. And it's a really great way for children to have an entry point into the history of the rest of the Alamo.
No, that's wonderful to hear that there is an active, extant Texas Camel Corps for young people to interact with at places like the Alamo. I think
We actually had Doug Baum on the Alamo podcast last week. If people want to hear directly from him, they just have to go to the alamo.org/podcast and they will find it. And he was a great interview, and he is very enthusiastic about the camels. So if people want more information directly from him, that's a good resource.
No, that does sound wonderful. We'll try and include a link about that in our notes after the show. You know, the original U.S. military Camel Corps, they sort of made their way out to Arizona, out to California, and eventually were decommissioned. And I think Haji Ali used them for freight animals in his mining and transportation enterprise. But there were always stories of wild camels in the Southwest descended from that early Army camel division. But these camels, the Texas Camel Corps, they're right here in Texas. So
yes, they live with Doug. I believe he lives outside of Dallas. He does travel, he says, about 80% of the year, going all over the country to historic sites, schools, churches, community centers, and just sharing this remarkable but lesser known piece of history.
Well, I confess I'd like to see if I can convince my college to bring some camels in for a petting zoo one day.
That'd be great. But in the meantime, everyone from Houston, get in the car, come to the Alamo this weekend and come see what's new at the Alamo. Because if you haven't been to the Alamo in the past couple of years, we are growing a $550 million renovation project, including $400 million from the state of Texas to build an education center, make the road in front of the Alamo less car dependent, more of a pedestrian friendly gathering space, and then a visitor center and museum. A lot of that's in the future, but after you see the camels, you can go inside some air conditioning to the brand new Ralston Family Collection Center. That's where we house the Alamo exhibit, more than 500 artifacts on display, many for the first time. And it really allows us to tell a full story of the full 300-year history of the Alamo.
No, that's wonderful. You know, my son and I came out to San Antonio in spring break just 2 months ago and 3 months ago now. And we did a little river walk stuff and we did a little bit of tourism in the city. But the plaza in front of the Alamo is still very much an active construction site as you guys
It will be
restore.
complete later this summer. And we know that there's a lot of dust right now, but I think people are able to see what's coming. And we like to describe the Alamo exhibit at the Ralston Family Collection Center as the appetizer to the main course. So if you come see this, you're going to get a sneak peek at what the future visitor center and museum is going to look like when it opens in 2027. And of course, a big draw that we have in the Alamo exhibit is the Phil Collins collection. Lots of people wonder, what does this British rock star have to do with the Alamo? Well, Phil Collins grew up in the 1950s when Fess Parker and Walt Disney were making a TV show about Davy Crockett, and he fell in love with the story. He amassed a tremendous collection of hundreds of artifacts. And in 2014, about 10 years ago, he donated them to the state of Texas, which really spurred all of this renovation and all these improvements you see now at the Alamo. So we're eternally grateful for Phil Collins and his contributions.
Yeah, I suspect if I had as much money as these rock stars do, I would also amass a collection of, whatever I wanted. And it seems quite clear that he was very taken with Davy Crockett, the Disney show, and the John Wayne film, and all of that. So he's amassed quite a collection of artifacts and Alamo paraphernalia. So how much of that will be on display? How much can people see right now?
Right now, there are more than 500 artifacts on display that tell the full 300-year history of the Alamo, starting with the indigenous era, going into the Spanish mission era, of course, the battle, but also the preservationist movement led by women in the early 1900s. And then we also have in the galleries right now a gallery that shows how we remember the Alamo, things like the bell from Camp Alamo in Afghanistan and the significance of that, the original movie poster art from the John Wayne movie. In the future visitor center and museum in 2027, though, that's going to expand to be thousands of artifacts. We'll also have on the first floor a civil rights exhibit that will be free and open to the public because Alamo Plaza was central to the civil rights story in San Antonio. That Woolworth building that's going to be part of the visitor center and museum, it was home to one of the first peacefully desegregated lunch counters in Texas. That lunch counter, unfortunately, is lost to history, but you can see the outline and the floor that remained. So we'll be able to share that story as well. and really show, yes, the 90 minutes to the battle is why we remember the Alamo all over the world. But there are thousands of years of history at the Alamo, and it's important to understand the full story, of which camels, circling back to World Camel Day, are just a really interesting part.
Yeah, no, I'm very optimistic that the renovations of the plaza, the building, and the collection will do exactly as you described. I mean, obviously, the battle itself is one of the most huge drivers of preservation and tourism, but there are hundreds of years of human history there around that consequential battle, from the Spanish mission and the indigenous conversions to the cemeteries to the Spanish and Mexican experience of that site in San Antonio long before and after the battle. So it sounds to me like there's going to be a lot more to think about and a lot more to see with this renovated exhibition.
Absolutely. And right now inside the Alamo Church, we have some artifacts on display from both Sam Houston and Santa Ana, so showing both sides of the battle. We also have an immersive exhibit in the sacristy part of the church. That is where women and children hid during the battle. They hid for their lives. And after the battle, their lives were spared, and women and children were able to tell the story of what happened. What people don't know about the Alamo Church is that it was not the limestone color originally that we have today that has survived. It was painted white inside some of those rooms with beautiful frescoes that our conservator revealed in the year 2000. So this immersive exhibit shows what it would have looked like during the Spanish mission era when it was used as a church. And then it transitions to the battle and tells the story about how we uncovered those hundreds of year-old paint chips. So that's something that is free and open to the public inside the Alamo Church that you won't want to miss after you see the camels on Saturday.
All right, Emily. Well, thank you so much. We could spend a lot more time than the 10 minutes we have talking about the Alamo again, and we'll hope to have you back. But thank you so much for being with us today, and everybody go out on Saturday and celebrate World Camel Day at the Alamo.
Yes, thank you for having me.
Well, coming up after a quick commercial break, Linda and I will return with some news and some announcements.
When I grow up, I want to work at a school so I can be a teacher.
From classroom to career, we're with you every step. Register for real-world education at hccs.edu.
If you love them enough to crawl into a play place to get them to come down, then surely you'll check nhtsa.gov/the right seat to make sure they're in the right car seat.
Today I'm going to talk to you about physics. Come on in, girls. Let's go. This is the first rocket to get humans to Mars.
Really tall.
I'm a rocket structural engineer, designing and building parts of the rocket. You are the generation that will be stepping foot on Mars. Do I have a group of astronauts on my hands?
Yes.
You can become a rocket scientist or whatever else you want to be.
All right, we're back with a few news, events, and announcements. First up, coding with AI and robotics. HCC Northeast summer camp participants will learn all about coding with AI and robotics free of charge, with lunch included. That is from 8 a.m. to 3 p.m., Monday through Friday, starting Monday, June 24th at the North Forest campus. Check our post after the show for more information.
Another PEP deadline this month. Staff and faculty, PEPs must be acknowledged in June. For more information about the process, visit My HCC or contact your talent and engagement senior partner. The next deadline is June 30th for 10-month full-time faculty and staff. Check our post after the show for information.
Well, we've got a lot going on this summer, including the Ableton Live workshops. They continued throughout July. HCC will continue these on music theory, creating beats, sampling, remixing, and all throughout July with certified trainer David Sharma. He will soon join HCCTV, join us on the show. These are Saturdays from 9 in the morning to 1 p.m. on July 6th and 13th at the Northwest Spring Branch campus. Registration information is in our post after the show.
Fall registration is now open. Everybody, fall registration is now open. Registration for the fall semester is now open with regular and smaller semesters offered in a variety of programs. Like all of HCC courses for the summer and for the fall, they are offered online, anytime, online, on a schedule, hybrid, both face-to-face and partially virtual, in person, and hybrid labs. To learn more about HCC programs, start dates, and options that cover costs, join us on hccs.edu/apply.
Thank you very much, Linda. This has been a great show. Now, coming up tomorrow for Film Friday and Pride Month, we'll welcome back the Normal Anomaly Initiative. This is one of the country's premier advocacy organizations empowering Black LGBTQIA+ individuals. And we'll visit with HCC International Freight Forwarding Apprentice Partner about logistics pathways for our students. Thank you again. Thank you for joining us. We'll see you next time.